guys.
ROMEOs.
How are we doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
It's sunny.
Welcome to...
It's sunny at 7 p.m.
That's right.
You can't beat that.
Welcome to Retired Old Men
Long
Expressing
days.
Opinions.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's us.
Aki, anything you want to add to that welcome?
I think that we are in world headquarters, Romeo World Headquarters.
Yeah, and like and subscribe, goddammit. Is that what you wanted to say?
No, we want you. We want you, please, to like. We want your comments too. We appreciate hearing from you.
I don't give a shit about
And
other
we would
people's
really
comments.
appreciate, if you would subscribe, because we could have a lot of fun continuing to do this. Go ahead.
Why are you laughing at him?
Yeah. What? Thank you.
I prefer a different approach. He's the
No.
carrot, I'm the stick.
Okay. Give us
Like and
some
subscribe.
stick.
What's wrong with you fucking people? We're busting our balls here,
You never-
talking week after week for over a year. I'm losing my fucking voice, and you guys aren't subscribing and liking. What the fuck's the matter with all you? Fuck. Okay.
Start a GoFundMe
Is it out of
campaign
your
for
system?
Neurant's
It
medication.
is. What are we talking about
Do
today?
you feel better?
No.
Wait, he's just
Dominic,
warming up.
Dominic, in honor of these two, I think we should talk about toxic relationships.
There you go. I love that.
And more importantly, why people remain in toxic relationships.
I'm out of here.
Where's my shoe? I want to throw it at Noran.
That's a good topic. Yeah.
Toxic relationships.
Yeah. Why
And-
people stay.
Right.
So Dominic,
Well,
get us started.
Well, I think whether you're man or woman, that will dictate the reasons. It's for different reasons.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Women, usually it's because there's a financial dependence.
Really? Do you
Still?
think that's still true today
Yeah, to some extent.
in Western society?
Well, yeah, to some extent, yes.
Interesting. Okay.
For men, they stay because,
They're a bunch of pussies.
well, not to. They're too lazy to start over.
To start over, start a new
A
relationship.
new
over?
relationship.
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I do agree
It's
with
like an old shoe, you know? It's like, yeah.
It's like an old shoe.
You gotta buy a new pair, but that one is so comfortable, you know it.
Yeah.
You slip your feet in there, it just goes to the
Wow.
Yeah, but guys, but don't you think also that they can have it both ways, right? You can have whatever. The relationship might be miserable, but you can go off and do your own thing and have your affairs and have your flings. Both partners can do that.
Why are you bringing this up?
I'm getting a new reputation. It would seem after a certain episode.
You know, I used to refer to you as an intelligent man, but you're really making me doubt myself.
Dig yourself deeper there, why don't you?
Have you learned nothing from past episodes? Nothing.
It's
He likes the doghouse.
constant learning, continuous learning. But no, but
Okay, go there, Aki.
but continue. Okay, so
Continue
right.
digging your hole. Go ahead.
So this is look. I'm not in a toxic relationship. Thankfully, I've never had the bad experience of being in a toxic relationship. Has anybody around this table been in a toxic
we'll get to that
relationship?
later.
We
Let's
will get to
address
that.
this.
Okay.
Don't change topics now.
We will get to that. Okay. But you guys, I mean, who can disagree? I mean, obviously, we're living in an age of conventional, non-conventional relationships all the time.
Oh, so you think this is new?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is now. It's just so common. So the power of a toxic relationship is really diminished because everybody does whatever they please outside of that relationship. And so what?
Oh, that's an interesting.
No, I
No,
No?
but that's
Okay.
a
I
super
don't know about
interesting
that.
angle.
Okay.
No, I kind of I like your angle because you're bringing it into the present. I think so. I think historically, Dominic, 100%, 100% historically. But to your point, and I agree with you too. Which it's kind of rare now. But I'm agreeing with both of you.
It's only 2 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah,
so
time.
no concerns.
I'm going to yell at you soon. Don't worry. No, but I do agree with you that things have morphed a little bit in terms of relationships, and that people are. How many married people are on Tinder, for example, that are going out and trying to find, that extra whatever they're not getting in the relationship that they're in, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be out there on apps, whether it be whatever, business trips, whatever they can find in order to get the thing that they're not getting out of their relationship. So even if it is a toxic relationship, in that, within that relationship and at home, they're finding ways to escape the toxicity from, for example, through what Aki is saying.
But they're remaining
in the
in
relationship,
the primary relationship.
yeah,
Why?
because they have a way out. So
No, they don't. If they're in it,
no, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
there may be diversions.
Exactly,
You're
it's a
still
diversion.
you're still involved in a toxic relationship.
Correct, but now you have some diversions that say,
So it's
every
interesting.
month I can go and get banged someplace else in a different
Well,
city.
So with one exception, I don't agree with you guys. And the one exception is a point Dominic raised, because I don't think anything has changed. We can go back from a historical standpoint. I don't think anything has changed. Toxic relationships have always existed. They exist today. They will always exist.
Okay.
The point you raised about a male-female relationship where the female remains for reasons of financial dependency, I think was true historically and probably ended sometime in the 1960s, 1970s. For sure, by the 1980s, to me, that was over.
Is that because of
Okay.
divorce settlements?
And I'm talking about Western society.
Again, why,
Okay?
but why are
Obviously,
you
in
saying
certain
that?
cultures,
Why are you
because
saying that it
I don't
changed?
think that's the reason
Because women,
that people remain, and women in particular, remain in toxic relationship because they're entirely financially dependent
they join
on the male
workforce.
and feel that they're handcuffed. They can't possibly escape the relationship. And yes, even through the court system, which would have looked favorably upon the breadwinner and unfavorably upon the dependent, that has all changed.
Yeah, that changed. Quite
Okay,
a bit.
it changed over 40 years ago. So I don't think in Western society that is any longer the case. What I think has always been true, is true, and will always be true, is that for reasons of low self-esteem, lack of self-respect, feeling that people don't deserve a better life, they remain in situations that are highly unpleasant and often toxic.
Okay, and that's just.
I think it's the psychology of the person
the human nature.
that causes them to remain in an unhealthy and toxic relationship.
There's a
I
lot-
think they can both be true.
yeah.
Yeah.
They both can be. I'm saying, what is the primary, or what are the primary reasons people remain?
Pat, to go back to the financial issues, that once you divorce, both lose half of their sort of equity. You don't lose it because just split down the middle, but it reduces your standard of living. So that's an impact.
At what cost? My point is,
know.
at what cost?
Well-
so what you're saying, and this point I will not disagree with.
Yeah.
Male or female, people will remain in unhealthy, often toxic relationships for reasons of maintaining a higher standard of living
Yeah.
financially than they otherwise would be able to afford, regardless of how unhealthy that relationship is.
So you agree with him on
That's it.
that front?
Yes, but I don't think it's a female issue.
No, you're right. It's both.
interesting.
And there's also the other aspect. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
No, to me, it's
He said it was a shoe.
if there's a
No, you
devil,
said it was a shoe.
if there's a devil, escape the devil.
Yeah, I agree, but some people don't.
Okay. So what changes it, of course, is if you have abuse. That's also a form of toxic
yeah.
relationship.
Well,
no,
of course.
That changes the
That's a
dynamic.
different-
Now
That's a
everything
different-
is abuse,
Yeah.
though. Enough of this abuse shit. Like abuse for me, physical abuse, fine. This whole mental,
Psychological,
verbal abuse, psychological. Fuck.
You don't believe in psychological abuse?
Okay, you know what? There are tiers of everything. If every once in a while you get pissed off at your spouse, male or female, and you make a comment, okay, it's not nice, but calling it abuse,
It's overused.
it's overused.
Okay.
Exactly. Like let's kind of pull that one back.
So
a little.
I think we all need to be very careful not to project,
Okay.
because there are situations, and I think I know you guys well enough to suggest that there are situations in life you may find yourselves in that you simply would not tolerate.
Yeah.
So you would end those situations, whatever the consequences.
Yeah.
That's not true of most people. Don't think that everyone has the intestinal fortitude, the courage, the psychological profile
Yeah.
to get out of relationships that everyone around them views as toxic
Yeah. You're right.
and that they simply cannot escape. They're trapped.
You're right.
And I would say that we still
You're right. 100%.
I would say that there are still, when you look at those types of horrible toxic relationships that involve abuse, overwhelmingly, it's still the women that are the victims in today's society.
Most of the time, yeah. Men are more toxic. I mean, it's just, mind you, again, this pendulum thing goes swings the other way every once in a while.
It does.
And there are a lot of women that are playing at being, the so-called male, if you will, from an abuse perspective, whether it be physical, because there are physical abusers who are women.
Yeah, very few. I mean,
well, very few. Again, I'll give you an example. I would never hit a woman. I just can't. When I was boxing, I boxed against one and I couldn't hit her, so I almost got my nose broken because I just couldn't get myself to hit her back. I couldn't. Physically, it didn't make sense. I was going to kill her if I did. She was an 18-year-old little girl. How am I going to hit her, right?
Why would you even get into the ring with her? But that's another story.
Well, it's because she wanted to spar and whatever.
Oh,
whatever. This is a long time.
Okay.
Aki, with all due respect, at least he didn't go to lunch with her.
Or hold hands.
And
we forgot the whole time.
And I was married back then. It was when I was 30 years old, so it was a long time ago. But yeah, she wanted to learn or whatever. I said, okay, fine. But I couldn't get myself. So there's certain people that just they can't. So now if you're that type of person and you're in a relationship and the woman loses it and starts wailing on you, what are you going to do? You're not going to hit her back. I'm sure you can lay her out flat with one shot, but you're just not going to do it. And that's, there are those types of relationships, unfortunately.
But it's like Pat said, there's some personalities you just tolerate. They're programmed, and they'll stay in that toxic relationship because that's how they're programmed, and they won't. You just accept it. Mind you, today women are more financially independent. So that, like you said, Pat, that has helped a lot.
Yeah,
their case.
It equalizes the relationship, so it's not a one-sided thing.
If you have that mentality, you could be financially independent, but you'll still stay in that toxic relationship because that's how you're programmed.
So I find it interesting that the one thing I will say, and again, this applies to Western civilization or lack of civilization, is that individuals who are in relationships either abandon too quickly or remain too long.
Okay.
So there's a tendency, this is not working for me, I quit.
Or they fudge it.
And then there are people who are so imprisoned by either their own belief system, their lack of mental fortitude, for whatever reasons they may have, they remain in situations far longer than they should, and rarely does it end well.
Okay, but Pat, I would add also the third element. They fudge it, and that's what goes back to my original point.
So expand on that.
Open relationships. I mean, open relationships can be exactly what you're talking about.
You went back there again.
But that's what it is. It is.
But to your point, Pat, though, I think women will stay too long and then quit too soon.
I agree with that.
And the reason is that men marry with the hope she's not going to change, and women marry hoping he's going to change.
Very well
These
said.
are interesting. These are interesting generalizations.
This is deep.
So
this
good.
is deep.
I like it.
I really believe that.
It's a
That's well
generalization.
put. I agree completely with what you said.
But yeah, I gotta give it to
And
you.
that's why Ben.
So what do you base that on? Because you're all in agreement. I'm not there.
Human nature.
Because women, okay, so in my whatever,
this is going to be good.
with the women that I've been with, almost all of them, they want to change you in a certain way. Like there's never a perfect match. There's always something that needs to be changed, and women always believe or have the hope that something's going to change in a relationship. I think that's a very valid
and
thing.
men don't think that way.
I've never wanted to change anyone. See, men are,
Okay, but take it.
less complex.
So don't make it about you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm generalizing.
No, but you're saying I've never wanted to change anyone. Do you think that's true of most human beings?
I think men are very simplistic. If they like someone, they like them for who they are at that moment, and they want to be with that person. They don't want that person to change. When I met my ex, or when I meet new people, if I like them for who they are at that moment, and there's going to be faults in these people, but I'll accept those faults, or I'll decide to accept those faults or not, based on how I feel about this person.
So just
my
the
idea
fact-
won't be to change those
But
faults.
just the fact that you refer to them as faults, and I think I understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, things that I don't like
says
about
a lot.
them.
They're not necessarily faults; they're character traits.
They're character traits that I don't agree with or I don't like.
Okay.
And I'll choose whether I'm going to accept those character traits or not. There's not an ounce of me that thinks that I'm going to change or modify a character trait in a human being, especially at the age of 40 plus, which are, the
I think what you're describing is a very healthy view of things, but I don't believe that's representative of the population at large.
well, then let's get it out there so people can be in their
don't you
relationship.
think
I don't think they have it within them.
And I think Nuran,
Well, but it's just common sense.
No,
I mean,
but there's I don't know if I can refer to it as an instinct, but it almost appears that way, where initially individuals focus on all the things they like in someone else, right? The reasons for the attraction,
exactly the first
whatever they may
attraction.
be, physical or otherwise.
It's typically physical as well as otherwise. Yeah.
And then over time, they tend to focus on the traits that are less appealing to them.
Well, they'll find them out because in the
Well, of
beginning,
course.
people show their best face.
Well, no, it's not, I think that they necessarily show their best face. It's that we focus on what is attractive to us.
No, people do show their best face. Trust me. When you go out with someone and you have your first coffee date or you go for dinner with someone, you're seeing the best version of that person. People are trying to portray themselves as best they can. To me, that's a universal truth in my view.
Okay, I don't see it that way.
That's how people portray themselves. What happens after a few weeks
Reality
or a few
sets
months
in.
is you start seeing the character traits that we talked about start coming out. Little things. Oh, how did they treat that waiter
'Cause your guard
in a
is down.
restaurant? Well, it's because they start becoming more familiar and they become themselves. They revert back to back to mean, as it were, right? How they are.
Guys, would you say there's more women with losers than men with losers?
What's a loser? You have to first define what a loser
Let's
is.
say somebody who was like, is like a troublemaker, whatever, like a bad boy, bad girl.
I think I understand what you mean, and I would say that there's a certain, and I don't know what the percentages are, but there are percentages of men and women who are attracted to the bad, if you will, in others.
Aggressiveness.
I think the women they love those bad boys.
Well, some do.
For what reason?
For what reason? Because they look, sexy. They look like it's.
Yeah, women that are attracted to bikers, for example, or
Well, no.
guys with tattoos, long hair, just
I
whatever.
don't know. So I think that
Tattoos, long hair.
Generalization.
well, maybe generalizations, but I don't know. I've seen my life. I've seen couples, and you see what women are attracted to versus what the men are attracted to, and there's a difference, especially younger. Maybe later not, but younger, yeah, they like those. Even in high school, remember the bad boys? Always got the pretty girls.
Yeah, because
but that's high school, adolescence.
Yeah,
No,
but
but
even
listen.
later, like in your 20s, they do in clubs. They like the bad boys. The guys.
There's a part of
And
that.
you're saying and the guys didn't want the bad girls.
Well, not for long-term relationships. For short-term.
a quickie.
There you go. Seriously.
And what's your definition of a bad girl?
Well-
Same thing as a bad guy? Like a motorcycle gang member? Or
No, a bad
what are we
girl
talking
is
about?
different. In the sense that
Don't hold back, Nuran.
No teeth. Flathead, no teeth.
So that seems to be like a social, thing that there's this impression. There's this impression that women actually are attracted to these hard ass guys.
It's
I'm not-
anthropological. Women are attracted to men with
Is it-
power
is it,
and
though?
who can protect them. So if you get
When you position it that way,
yeah.
then I agree.
Well, that's what it is. It's anthropological. I mean, women are looking for the alpha male, the one that's going to protect them.
The choice of words are interesting because a powerful protective male is not necessarily a bad boy.
But it can be. I mean, there's a crossover.
Of course it can be,
And
but it isn't necessarily.
No, of course not.
So when you talk about this general statement that the vast majority of women would be attracted to a man who's powerful, strong, let's say,
who can protect them during birth.
and who has the inclination to protect them,
Yes.
in the face of any form of danger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Especially when they're vulnerable, like when they're pregnant.
That I agree with.
Because they want, I mean, it's just anthropological, right?
That I agree with.
Yeah. And why do you think when babies are born, they look like their father? So the father makes sure, this one looks like me, it's mine, I'm not going to kill it, right?
Yeah, no, but it's interesting because...
But this is true. This is
but I come back...
true.
But I come back to the
Where
use
did
of
that come
words
from?
because when Dominic was describing the bad boy in high school, in almost every instance I can think of, when you fast forward 20 years,
yeah, that guy's not a bad
the
boy.
person who is referred to as the bad boy is then referred to as the loser.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I know. I mean, that's, but
Times change.
But seriously, but no, to your point, to your earlier point, I mean, you really were that psychotic that we have to absolutely, when the baby's born, that we have to be sure that the baby's ours?
well, I
Actually,
hope
go back 50,000 years.
Oh, okay. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just
No,
talking
I
about.
told you, anthropologically, this is we're an animal.
Okay, so you're talking
the human
about,
animal.
You're talking about.
Yeah, but there's a reason why things evolved this way. Because if a baby was born that didn't look like the father, looked like someone else, another father, well, the baby, it's like, how do I know that this is my baby? Well, it looks like me.
Yeah,
that's
okay,
the way it works.
Okay, but in the modern society, we don't think like that, and we don't operate like that
what do you-
psychologically. Men, do we?
Of course, some men do. What do you?
I mean,
naive?
what-
of
okay.
course.
Really? You don't think so?
Well, you're in a
If your
relationship.
baby
you
was
reach a
born
point-
and was black,
or
but guys,
Asian.
yeah, I
hang
know,
on.
but
I went very far with that. But imagine,
Yeah.
Well, then you
No,
kind
but
of say, okay,
all I'm saying is again,
maybe it was
most
another
civilized,
father.
Most civilized couples, in a strong relationship, when you're at the time when you have the birth of your first child, your instinct isn't to go there, is it?
no, my instinct isn't to go there. But I'm just saying.
That's all that I'm saying.
Well,
I think so.
It doesn't matter what my instinct
Let's
is. I'm
put it
just
this
saying
way. Let's
humanity.
put it this way. The only certainty you have, short of genetic testing, is who the mother of the child is.
yeah.
That's the only certainty.
That's the only certainty you have.
And the other certainty is if it looks like the father.
No, it doesn't matter because sometimes you look at a young baby and you'll say, "Oh yeah, it looks so much like the parent," and say, "Okay, but you know what? That's your imagination playing tricks on you."
Okay, then get a DNA test.
Then
Right?
you're definitely in a toxic relationship.
I agree. That's a sure red flag.
Exactly.
Big red flag.
Yeah.
But I said, I think the bad boy, bad girl
Just stretch the mic.
concept is, I really believe in that. I think.
But what is it? But isn't it very short term?
Well, I mean, obviously now when you're later on in life, but till about 25, 30, yeah.
Well, there's also the assumption that people will remain as they are, which isn't necessarily true.
Well,
That's it. So I'll give you a story of a friend that got divorced, and the wife started dating bikers. For example, it's like that was it was something that I guess.
And by bikers, you don't mean
Don't tarnish
cyclists.
bikers now.
Wait a sec. You don't mean cyclists.
Not like tattooed dudes, whatever, like guys, real bad boys, but older, obviously, not the 20-year-olds.
Okay, don't general. Not all bikers are bad boys.
Thank you.
It's not about being. When I say bad boy, I'm not talking about a criminal. I'm talking about a guy that's like a tough guy, a so-called tough guy, tattoos, rides a bike, long hair. Yeah. It's the look. The guy could be a pussycat. I knew a guy that looked like he could kill you, and the guy was the most gentle human being on the planet. He used to work as an engineer at Nortel. This guy, this tall, huge guy. But he was the gentlest guy on the planet.
Yeah, but
he looked like a killer, but he wasn't.
There's always exceptions. How old was she?
In her 40s, I guess.
Yeah, that's an exception.
No, but
I agree.
listen,
Yeah, at that point in life, I don't see it.
No,
listen, I'm not going to go into details of a lot of stuff, but I just know that there's a certain amount of, a lot of women when they get divorced in their 40s, go through a phase of going online and they get a lot of attention from a lot of younger guys who just want a quick MILF that they can bang really quickly. So they'll look at guys in their 30s and whatever, and these guys are looking at the good-looking women in their 40s who are still in shape and look pretty hot.
Okay.
So then when a guy like me who's the same age as these women go online, I'm actually competing not with guys my age. I'm competing with guys 10, 15 years younger than me who want a quick bang. And these women go out with these guys and, they fall in love. This is fantastic, whatever. The guys are just there for a good time. It's not about a relationship for them.
Do you guys detect a touch of resentment or frustration in his voice?
Very
when he
frustrated.
describes
Yeah. No, I'll be honest. That's
Okay.
why I stopped online dating. I thought it was disgusting.
Yeah, but,
It's like...
it? And how's offline dating?
Much better.
Okay.
Okay, so, and you're saying, and just to complete your point, you're saying that in this instance, a lot of these women, these guys that they're looking for online, they're attracted to those that come across as being tough and badass.
They're looking for something
Really?
they didn't have in their marriage. They're looking for something that's exciting, that's visceral. And by the way, I'm not against that. Go live your life.
How much of it is a revenge mentality?
I'm not sure about that. Maybe there is some of that. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to get into the psyche of every woman, obviously.
No, but just generally speaking, do you think,
I think there's a portion of it.
Do you think both men and women who
they definitely
feel that they have been cheated, and I don't mean just in the physical sense. I mean that they're coming out of a relationship that was toxic, and that for reasons of revenge, they tend to get involved in relationships where it's not just a function of what their needs are. It's like what would make him or her really upset.
Absolutely,
Totally,
100%,
absolutely.
100%,
100%.
But that's terrible. It's a terrible facet of humanity. But yes, I agree with you. People do that.
Yeah,
for sure.
especially with Facebook now. So you can put the picture of your new girlfriend.
Yeah,
and your
exactly.
ex-wife sees that, you know.
That's it. The new trophy,
Yeah,
trophy
exactly.
girlfriend.
So
I
that's
bought a
it.
Corvette. I bought whatever. That
Ask
kind of.
Bill Belichick.
You go, Bill.
There you go, Bill.
Le gros Bill.
Yeah,
Wrong one.
that's a toxic relationship.
Well, is it?
We
I
don't know.
think so.
We don't know.
It is, or it will become.
Well, I think it is now, but he doesn't realize it.
Okay. Well, that's often the case with toxic relationships. Is outsiders tend to perceive that a relationship or an individual is toxic long before the person involved in the relationship.
Because the blood is all flowing in one place and not in his brain. You know?
At that age, it still is.
You think? Well, with the help of some Viagra.
So what, guys, what you just described. I mean, let's go back, to our famous Romeo bell curve, right?
Okay.
So what percentage of these type of personalities that we're describing online, are they really like that 80%, or are they the outliers?
No. Listen.
Hold on. Which we're describing which personality?
Well, those people who
That
are
go
dating
after younger.
not because they're serious about having another changing
they
relationship.
want to fling. They want to
fling. They want the bad guy experience. They want to do the crazy stuff that they never did before.
I'll give
they
you
want
my-
to push the envelope. All of that. So that personality. Where does it fit on that bell curve?
Okay. So from my perspective, after years and years of online dating, which I stopped doing because I got fed up, if a woman in her 40s was good looking, like objectively, good looking, in a good shape, not overweight, not whatever, decent shape, good looking woman, I'd say 95% plus. Okay, so more than the bell curve. Okay, bell plus a sigma or two. Okay, we're definitely in that vein.
Sorry, in what vein?
Yeah,
Of
that's
going with younger guys and dating younger guys. What you had to find, so for me, what I had to find was a woman who was dating online enough or long enough to have gone through that phase of their lives and passed to the point where, okay, now I want to find someone I can talk to, and it's not just about sex. It's not just about having some young guy on my arm or whatever to feel good about myself.
It's a lot of tagging.
Yeah, but have gotten past that point to a point where now I want a relationship with someone who's closer to me in age or older than me, because I was older at the time. Because I don't look my age, I think anyway. I mean, other people can argue about that. But yeah, so I was looking for women.
No, you look damn good for 70.
Thank you. I look even better for 90.
You don't know that. True. You got to start checking your obituaries.
I'm not dead yet.
No. I mean, you look pretty, and then you see the wives that are available.
Oh, fuck. Not what I'm looking for.
Wow.
No, but to answer your
The young
question,
widows.
So that's the majority.
it again when freshly divorced, for sure, when they go out there, they're looking for young guys to justify that they're good looking, and it's an ego thing.
That's
and
been
it's
his
fine.
experience,
That's been my experience.
right? And so perhaps
We don't
part of-
have any experience to be able
No,
to
but
talk
perhaps
about.
part of the explanation is that Nuren is attracted to a profile of woman,
Yeah, good looking women.
that is similar to what late teens, early 20 guys are looking for in a MILF.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
That's
I said,
part of it.
Good looking. Yeah, I need to be physically attracted to the person I want to go out with. I'm not going to go out with someone I'm not physically attracted to. And I have a certain view of what I like. And by the way, it's very wide. I'm not like a certain type of person. If someone attracts me, whether it's, the look in her eye, the hair, I don't know, whatever it is, I'll be attracted. But again, I guess my view of attractiveness also coincides with a lot of
Right.
other people's view.
That's it.
And because of that, these women are targeted by younger guys that just want to get a quick lay. And trust me, I've seen it a lot of times.
But depending on what you're looking for,
yeah.
those women may be doing you a favor. Because the moment you demonstrate that what they're interested in is a
that's it.
19 to 22-year-old.
Well, no, 25 to 35
Well,
year old.
whatever.
Not 19.
So
I mean,
they're-
not a
Well,
child.
Why, that's not a child, it's an adult.
So Nuran,
19-year-old's a child.
lie about your age and use a filter.
No, I never did that. I never.
He's an
never did
honest
that.
guy.
Hey guys, can
No,
I
no.
bring? Can
I
I
have personal integrity. Sorry.
Can I
can't
bring
do that.
another tangent to this?
Of course.
So, when a couple breaks up, who generally fares better after the breakup?
In what way?
In what way exactly?
In all ways.
No. You got to think mentally versus financially
Just
versus what?
Overall.
Happiness.
Yeah. Overall.
Who's that?
So in
Who's
the,
more adjusted and
in
happier?
the immediate to midterm, the person who chooses to break it off.
Okay.
will be the happier person.
Longer term, I'm not sure. You really have to look at the causes of the breakup in order to answer the question longer term.
It's difficult.
That's how I would look at
I
it.
think longer term, men fare better.
Oh, gosh, no.
No.
And I'll tell you why I say gosh, no. Because generally speaking, men cannot tackle the later stages of life alone. Now, some can,
Most can't.
but the majority can't.
Really?
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas women can.
So I disagree
think-
with
I
you.
Well,
No,
I'm
I
telling
agree
you,
with
the
Pat.
statistics are there to support it.
I disagree.
I disagree that women can.
They can.
Women are more self-reliant. Emotionally, I think
Absolutely.
more self-reliant than men.
Men are much
Yeah.
more dependent than women
I agree.
in ways that becomes highly accentuated in the late stages of life.
I'm shocked.
I'm telling you.
I don't
Yeah.
get it personally
I'm
because
telling
I
you.
don't think that way.
No.
I mean,
So statistically, you have to look at how many men in their 70s and 80s will remarry, right, or commit to a partner because they need someone who's going to support them.
Well, I don't know.
Now,
well, they need a nurse. Is that it?
with future generations, that may change.
I know.
That may change, but historically, that has absolutely been
I'm
true.
going to get in trouble for this, but if I look at my situation, I think I would fare much better.
Oh my God! Here we go again.
So what does that mean?
We're opening the gates to hell once
Well,
again
it's
on the
because-
Romeo podcast.
Listen,
Let's not get divorced here, people.
he's been in the doghouse before.
Yeah,
He will get there again. Let him speak.
I got a long-term lease.
So expand on that. In
expand.
what ways would you be better off?
Well, it's because there's a personality, friends, and all of that.
Well, it depends on your. So that's your particular
but you're-
situation.
You're,
Yeah,
a
that's
sample
what-
of one.
Yeah, I know. But I think.
I'll go ahead.
Go.
I was just going to say, I mean, from my perspective, I'm not the normal guy or whatever, but I feel very, very happy on my own, and I enjoy my alone time. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to be with anyone. It's just that I'm not inclined to need someone to be with. So that affords me the luxury of waiting to meet someone that I really want to be
So
with.
I think anybody who knows you wouldn't be surprised by what you just said.
Okay.
But again, don't project.
Yeah, I'm not okay.
That doesn't mean that because you're that way,
Yeah,
most men are.
No, that's
But you
fair.
know what,
That's
Pat?
fair, and I won't
I'm
project.
not necessarily projecting. I saw some friends.
No, in your case, it's not projecting.
They got divorced, and I see the man and the woman who did better. Usually, the man does better, fares better.
Well, financially, yes. Psychologically,
on the surface, maybe.
Psychologically,
On the
I'll say
surface.
no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would come back to, I think in the immediate to midterm, whoever is ending the relationship will generally fare better.
I know. I think women usually are a little more bitter than men are.
Not if they're ending the relationship.
I don't know.
Well, I can give you my perspective since I'm the one that's been divorced in this group.
Okay, go
Well,
for
your
it.
perspective or your experience?
My experience and my perspective.
Project, Nuran, project.
Not project. I'm telling you my experience, and I can tell you psychologically, I was scarred for many years. Now, the decision to divorce was a mutual one because we never fought, we never raised our voices, we just didn't get along. We were two separate, we were two very different people. As we grew older, we changed into two very different people, and we were both miserable at home living together. So we decided jointly that, okay, this is it. It's not working out. We're both miserable. Before we start arguing and showing, dissatisfaction with each other in front of our children, it's better that we, go our own way in an amicable way. We didn't go through divorce lawyers. Like, it was just fully amicable. However, from a psychological perspective, it was difficult on me. It took me years. I would say about 5 to 6 years after my divorce before I was more able to be okay with going out with others. Now, I went out with a lot of women between, in those first 5 years. But when one of them started getting serious, I backed out of that relationship because I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ready psychologically. Now, I can't speak for my ex. I don't know her psychological, profile at the time, but for myself, I can only speak for myself. I was not well psychologically.
But what you describe is a mutual decision.
Yes, and this was a mutual decision.
Most relationships don't end based on mutual accord. Most
agree.
do not.
I agree. We're kind of a unicorn
in most breakups,
divorce.
In the vast majority of breakups, one party ends it, and the other one is severely disturbed by the fact that the relationship.
Okay, so you described your situation, your reaction.
Yeah.
Can we maybe? What are your thoughts about what was her reaction for that same time frame? Was she like having a better time of it than you were?
Would it be fair to ask that question? Who fared better, you or her?
I don't know, because I don't know how she was. Okay. I know she was going. She was also seeing other people, going out, whatever. So she was doing her own thing.
But I want to come back to your question, Dominic, because who fared better? Whether it's Nuran, his ex, or anyone else, is a function of what your needs and wants are. So, you have to measure it in ways that are difficult to quantify.
Yeah.
Is a person happy? Is a person well-adjusted?
Yeah.
Is a person comfortable in their own skin? Does a person feel like they have, a good level of self-esteem?
The reason why I was bringing that point is that some people will stay in toxic relationships because they don't think they'll do better. They're afraid of the unknown.
But again, you have to ask yourself, if you're in a toxic relationship and you don't think you can do better, what does that say about you?
It doesn't say much.
Low self-esteem.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Of course.
You have poor self-image, you have no self-esteem, no self-respect in certain cases, and on we go.
That's why you hit the gym and you start trying to get in shape.
You're not putting yourself in that category.
Me? No, of course not. I've been in shape all my life.
That's it.
Look at me.
I don't know. I just
one of our big selling points, Nuran. One of our big selling points.
I just think it's
somewhere between low self-esteem and narcissism is a happy middle. You have to find,
Romeo.
right?
Exactly.
I have extremely high self-esteem, like super high self-esteem.
I think we refer to that as narcissism.
One notch below.
Oh, okay, one notch below.
One
Fair
notch.
enough. Okay.
Give me that notch.
Well, granted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm a little surprised that people don't see it like I do at that point.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I just think men fare better.
Well, men age better.
Why do you say that?
Well, in general, men age better.
How so?
Just physically. Physically, men can keep it together longer than women, unfortunately. It takes
I'm not sure what that means.
It's harder for women to keep their physique as they get older. Menopause is a tough thing, is a tough time for women. It's hard on them from a physical perspective.
For a lot of them, childbirth changes their anatomy.
You really want to dig yourself into a bigger hole, don't you?
I'm pointing out a fact.
Some women yes, some women no. It depends on depends on the women. I've been with women. There was a woman that I went out with that had 4 boys. She was petite, just a wonderful person and a wonderful physique.
Yeah, Gadol's got 3 kids.
Yeah, it all depends on.
Exactly.
But my point being, as they get older, it just becomes more difficult. Men, if they want to, if they choose to, if they dedicate, some thought and some effort, can keep their physique longer. I'm 60 years old. I could still fit into everything that I've been wearing for the past 40 years.
He has a good tailor.
Well, no, I do.
I don't know anybody that could make that statement with any confidence. So I'm congratulating you.
No, but
I've been I've been within the same 10 pounds like
That's impressive.
forever.
Not me.
But
That's
that-
impressive.
Yeah, I'm not sure
You're not impressed?
that matters.
Okay, there you go. No.
No,
but
I can make a similar statement. It just
No,
I don't see where.
Physiologically, men can keep it together longer. I'm
Okay.
convinced of
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not, but
It's just
I see it
harder.
too.
I don't disagree with some of the comments you make about some of the life changes that women will go through biologically, if you will.
They have more challenges.
Yes.
Fair enough, but the effects
I
of
agree.
childbirth, menopause, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah.
However, I don't see where that's an important consideration.
It's not.
I
but,
just don't.
But I do believe.
But hang on. So if you don't want to concede that there's a certain amount of attractiveness in youthful looking people at the age of 40 plus or 50 plus, then we're not going to agree. But you have to give me that point before you can agree with me. If you think that it's attractive for youthful looking or slim, just the typical attractiveness, the guidelines that most people would look at to say, oh, this person is attractive or not. If you're 350 pounds, male or female, you're not going to be as attractive as 150 pounds, for
Unless
example.
you're chubby
Yeah,
chaser.
I just think that. So again, I think that it comes down to
I totally agree.
what attributes or traits in a person
Yeah.
lead you to think of them as being attractive. And I will absolutely grant you that the physical aspect has importance, but it's not the only aspect.
See, I'm smiling because I understand. So you're coming from a place of being with someone and married for multiple years and growing old together, which is a wonderful thing. I'm coming from I'm single, I'm looking for a new mate. So I'm looking for certain things that I want in a new mate versus, hey, I grew old with my spouse and I love her to death and I love everything about her.
But let me put it this way.
It's a different.
So let me
it's a
put it this
different
way. I'll
mindset.
say the opposite for me of a toxic relationship, where if I didn't have the good fortune of being with the person I'm with at this stage in my life, based on whatever experience I've had or experiences I've had,
Right.
at this stage in my life, I would look for someone just like the person I'm with.
Okay. But there's a physical attraction consideration in
But
that.
you'd want to be physically attracted to
there
that
is.
person.
Okay.
Well, of course, I said earlier there has to be an element of physical attraction.
That's
but
all
it
I'm
goes,
saying as
But
well.
it goes
Yeah.
so far beyond that.
Yes.
Whereas, when you're 18 or 20 years old,
But pal, what's the first thing you see? You don't see
that's-
someone's heart immediately.
No,
Or
but I'm
brains.
saying when you're 18 or 20, it's not just the first glance.
No.
It doesn't matter. All you're interested in is that
talking
physical
now.
attraction.
I know, but now so the scenario for you is you're single, you're looking for a mate. The first thing you notice about the person is their looks. It's the first thing. You'll discover their heart over weeks and months and years, but you won't know that heart until you get to know them. But the first thing that's going to make you go to that first date or
I
that
agree.
first dinner is the fact that, wow, I think this person is nice. For me, I always visualize whether I can kiss that person. Do I want to kiss this person? If I can't say to myself, yeah, I'd like to make out with her, I think she'd be fun to kiss. If I can't say that in my head, I don't want to be with her.
I think that's entirely fair. All I'm saying is I would not be looking at this stage in my life for someone who looks like she's 25 or 30 years old.
That's not what I said.
Right.
As long as you're,
That's not
it has to be attractive to you.
right.
And I don't know what's attractive to you. Only you do. But you have to look for that attractiveness.
That's where it starts.
And that's what I'm saying. So my view of attractive might be different from yours, and it will be for sure.
Of course, we're all individuals,
Exactly.
right? But tongue in cheek,
But you need
Dominic
that.
was talking about Bill Belichick earlier. Like I don't know this whole thing about old dudes,
Yeah.
and now you can make a similar statement about old women
Yeah.
who look for someone who's 40 or 50 years younger than they are.
That's stupid. That's
No,
just stupid.
it's not stupid. Obviously, there's something in their psyche that causes them to think that that's what's going to make them happy.
It's what I just said earlier
I
about
just-
for people who are just divorced and they're
Right.
looking
It's
for
like-
that fling.
I
Right?
You're right.
just don't get it.
I'd like to bring another tangent to what you were saying.
Sure.
Who gets more comfortable in a relationship, men or women?
Who gets more
And
comfortable?
what I mean by that is they get so comfortable.
Oh, well, women are, I think
They,
women.
They don't try anymore.
No, women are, no, can we agree? Maybe redefine it. Women are the ones that are more mature, more serious about a relationship, and more committed to making the relationship work.
He's trying to save
at
himself.
at all stages of life.
Most stages. I
You
think
didn't
women,
answer
I
his
think,
question though.
No, I know it's a very touchy question.
He's going to answer it in
No,
a roundabout way.
what I'm saying is, I think
Doghouse.
women are better custodians of the relationship than men are,
Why?
because women are more mature. Women are probably emotionally
I'll give you that. Yeah,
more intelligent.
but I was
At a certain age,
Yeah.
that disappears.
I don't
can
know.
tell you
Really,
that.
what age does that disappear?
Well, again, I was emotionally immature for until my early 40s or late
okay.
30s.
I guess
You're
Again, I'm
projecting.
projecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so the question is, do you think that's generally true of men?
I think men catch up. Some men catch up,
Yeah, but
not
after
all
your first
men.
heart attack.
that wasn't the point I was
Yeah.
trying to make, though.
Yeah, but so his question, we still didn't answer it though.
Yeah,
So I think okay. Sorry, Dominic.
So
Again,
the-
I think you're
Yeah.
going in the same direction as what I'm suggesting. I think women are more the bastions of the relationship than the men are.
No, he's talking about taking care of themselves.
exactly.
Looks. He's talking about looks.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're talking about just look.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, yeah.
How long have you known this guy? What matters to him?
When do they stop shaving their legs?
He's deeper than that. Dominic is
You're right.
deeper than that.
Yeah, but it's a criteria. You see it, you know.
I think both parties have that responsibility.
Yeah, but who takes it more seriously?
Do you manscape?
Yeah, I do. I need to.
There you go.
He wasn't given a choice.
He clogs the sink every day.
I'm an environmental hazard.
less so in
They
the
call me the beast. But we digress.
less so in the winter months
So
to save on heating bills.
Everybody's going to decide, well, does he shave up to here or to there?
One tangent.
Okay, but
Go back
One
to
tangent.
Dominic's question now.
Okay, Dominic, continue. I mean, so I'm just saying. Anyway, but
So,
you heard what I
my
said. But
point is that I think sometimes women, but also men, they get to a certain point in a relationship,
where they
just give up.
give
So
up
who gives up?
Well, it could
on
be,
the physical attraction thing.
My point is because, when they're young, they want to attract the other sex, so they do whatever is necessary.
Yes.
The nails are painted, the hair is
But
done.
once the fish is hooked,
And what about guys? I think guys also
Of course,
in
of
the
course,
same league.
of course.
Totally in the same league.
You let yourself go.
Yeah.
You got the pot. You got this.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
No,
As a society, we let ourselves go. I mean,
Not the
that's what we
guys,
do.
not the guys here today, but
We're rock hard people. Rock
Look at
hard.
this,
Wait for the Topless podcast.
you go. No, but I mean, it's an important point because I mean,
Not now,
I
Noran.
agree with Noran. Whether he's divorced or not, if you're married, you want to look at your spouse. It's,
Yes.
and see.
Yes.
And see.
Yes.
However, I'll give you another thing. I'll give you a second thought. It's interesting, and I've noticed this, is that your eyesight starts to fade. Hang on. Your eyesight starts to fade in your 40s and 50s. And all of a sudden, you start getting that Barbara Walters type of lens, that when you look at someone that's a little bit, how can I say it, faded a little bit. So on all of the little lines on the face, you don't notice them as much. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that is a beautiful thing about humanity, is when you're with someone and you're close to someone and you're growing old together. I think that's beautiful. I think that's a wonderful way to have a spouse, and you both kind of age together in a nice way. You still love each other. To me, that's magical. Didn't happen with me, but I think it's magical, and I wish it for everyone, right? But it's funny how humanity, or how the human body kind of adjusts and makes your eyes fade just as the wrinkles start to appear.
There is a God.
Yeah. So you look into each other's eyes and you say, wow, you look like the day I met you. Because that's what you're seeing. Because your eyes are so fucked up.
I don't buy it.
It's true. I'm telling you.
Well, no, because there are men and women who
With good
at
eyesight?
at an age where what you're suggesting has taken place, and yet they continue to chase something.
That's because they wear their glasses when they're looking
you know
at
what,
something. Take your glasses off and then
Yeah.
you'll see beauty.
And your point is that when you're with somebody so long,
Yeah,
let's say you
exactly.
met when you're in your 20s, you still see that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. 100%.
So you
That's,
see it.
and to me, that's part of the love.
Every once in a while,
you
but I think it's important for both men and women to every once in a while to have that moment. Okay, let me do something special. Let me put maybe a little makeup or this and that.
Yeah.
Just try a little bit harder. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Try just a little bit
Yeah.
harder.
Are you good at doing that?
No. Well,
But you think it's important.
I think I am. I mean, obviously, I don't wear makeup, but I try to stay in shape,
Yeah, of course.
and
We all do.
exactly. So I think I do my part.
So hold on. You stay in shape, as you
Yeah.
put it,
Yeah,
for the benefit of your spouse or for your own benefit?
for both.
Both.
Yes.
For both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of the above.
No, you can't say both.
I stay in shape for my eventual partner.
Oh, for your eventual partner.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going out with
You
someone in
stud
Spain for a
muffin,
while.
That's a good point, Pat. It's a
And
good point, but it's
I like for me, I want, so I like to, this is weird to say, I like to be desirable.
no, there's nothing wrong with that.
But I consider it a challenge for myself to do that because as you get older it's harder. But I like, for me, my ideal body is like a 25-year-old or 30-year-old guy's body. Very difficult to achieve at this age, but that's my target. Now I'll never achieve it. I know I won't.
I'll give you the recipe.
But I don't like pharmaceuticals. I don't take any drugs. No testosterone, none of that shit. Human growth hormone, all this crap that people take. No. It's like I was taking creatine for a while. I stopped that as well. I don't want to take anything. I just want to be just normal, but work out and be fit. And it's difficult, but to me, it's important. It's super important for me because I want the person that I'm with to want to be with me, and that's part of it. Attractiveness is part of it.
Attractiveness is part of it.
Guys, you know me well. To me, it's always about effort. Anything that has to be done, effort is the most important thing. And when you see that effort, whether it comes out good or bad, you're attracted to that.
So back to the issue of the toxic relationship. So who do we think makes more of an effort in that situation to correct it or to deal with it?
I think I don't think. Well,
sorry, I just thought something weird.
Go ahead. Well,
if you all of a sudden see your wife putting on makeup, losing weight, looking good, going to the gym a lot, it ain't for you. That's all I'm saying.
unless
that's a big point you just made.
unless you unlocked your cell phone.
So, just say, guys,
and the flip side.
I'm just saying.
And the flip
in
side.
in a healthy relationship, you wouldn't want it to be for you.
No,
no,
why?
you would.
Why? Why would you want it to be for you?
In a healthy relationship,
Because you want the
check all the
person to do it
boxes.
for themselves.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
However,
but
in most realities, what you're talking about is a super healthy relationship. And so actually, let me ask the question. What percentage of relationships do you think are healthy? To the point of what you just said.
But healthy is a relative measure.
No, to the point where what I just said and what
what's
you
the
said,
fewer than 50%.
And maybe,
much less. I would say 20%.
I don't know about 20. I said fewer than 50.
so what? So would you consider like an open relationship where they have partners outside of the marriage, but together they're very happy and they balance everything?
That's not what I
Is that a
said.
good relationship?
No.
Is that a happy relationship?
No.
So,
Okay.
no,
Just
wait,
what's the
wait
definition of a happy
Wait a
relationship?
second. We've talked about this before.
What's the definition?
If you have people involved in open relationships, and they both consent to it, they're both happy with that, they're both good
that
with
you
that.
consider a happy relationship.
It wouldn't work for you or me, but it works for them. So be it.
So you would consider that a happy relationship?
It's a happy relationship.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Certainly not healthy from my
No,
standpoint.
but it's a happy relationship.
I think that in all of these open relationships, there's one partner that's more into it than the other.
I don't know.
I would say that in a lot of these situations,
You may be right. I don't know.
The guy is often
that would be
into
my
it.
guess. Well, it depends. Sometimes it's the girl that's into it, and then the guy is a bit of a pussy and says, "Okay, well, if my wife likes to get banged by other guys, well, maybe I'll be part of it to stay with her," and that's a dysfunctional relationship.
Because is
And
it,
it's a
What
toxic
you
relationship.
just described, absolutely.
'Cause-
But
Yeah.
not all open relationships are that way.
I know it isn't. Peace on that, but I think there are situations when that arises, and guys are just afraid of losing their wife and their relationship.
Then what you described for me falls into the category of toxic.
Very toxic. I agree, 100%. That's
think
why I
the
said it.
Back to your
I
question.
think the question should be, is it happy or just convenient?
No. I think the question that was raised
Definition
was
of a-
healthy.
Healthy.
Healthy,
So I'll
yeah.
agree with you. If both partners are into it and they're both equally into it and they're both okay with having their spouse, banging others in front of them or not in front of them,
Okay.
if that's okay, then that's fine.
And everybody's happy.
If everyone's happy,
nobody's
then-
getting hurt. We're good with that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Why
but
not?
but I would say that's the minority of people.
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Very, very
Exactly.
So you asked the question. You say as few as 20% of relationships
Are in a healthy, happy place,
Yeah,
like
I
you
would-
said.
I
would
don't
go
know
there.
what the exact number is,
Yeah.
but based on everything I see and hear, I have to believe it's less than 50.
I think most...
Less than 50 for sure. Someone who's
sure,
married
for
20
sure.
years plus.
Yeah,
Let's say 15, 20 years
No,
plus
it's
of
not being
marriage.
married. You have a lot of people who are married who are in
Yeah.
unhealthy
They're
relationships.
just
But
convenient.
that's what I'm trying to say.
They remain.
Just convenient.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
So if already, 50% thereabout of relationships end up in divorce, and it doesn't mean because it ended up in divorce that it was toxic, but it wasn't healthy.
no, it wasn't a good
Right? It
relationship.
wasn't a good relationship. It wasn't a healthy relationship. So if we have 50% of the population right there,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
then for sure you can tack on some percentage on top of that.
That's it.
so you're saying 50 of the ones that remained married are still okay, you're thinking, or I think it's
that's
less
not-
than that.
No,
No, that's not what you
less,
said.
less.
I think it's less.
I think a lot of them are just convenient.
Yeah.
Not
they're
healthy,
just-
but not they're just convenient.
How many married couples like to travel together and enjoy doing the same things together when they travel? Now, I know I'm maybe stirring up some shit here.
Yeah,
No,
you are.
I don't think, but okay, what's behind the question?
Well, it's because
It
when you're
gives an
with,
indication.
well, it gives you an indication exactly of how you are together as a couple.
So I'm based on how you phrase the question, I'm going to disagree, and I'll tell you why. I think that part of being in a healthy relationship is not taking away the individuality.
Oh, it's great. Love it.
So I can tell you, I can't think of a better partner than, and I'm not saying there isn't anyone out there, although I don't think there is, than the partner I have.
okay.
But not all of our likes are similar. We don't always enjoy doing the same things.
No, your response was dead on.
We're perfectly happy doing things apart from one another and then just finding or rediscovering one another.
Okay.
We love to go away together,
But
it
you
doesn't
still
mean
wanna
that-
do it.
But it doesn't mean that when we're away, we spend every hour of every day doing things together. We don't.
See, that's a healthy relationship. You have a super healthy relationship. Not everyone else does. That's just my point.
Yeah.
So the response that you gave was spot fucking on. It was like perfect, where you can retain your own personality and you're still fine together. That's a super healthy relationship. I'm just suggesting not a lot of people have that level of healthiness in their relationship. That's
agree.
all.
Oh, that I agree with.
We all agree.
That I agree.
I mean, you're like, knock on wood, you're like awesome. But yeah, that's few and far in between to have that healthy aspect and the emotional intelligence required to understand that that's what's happening and be okay with it and actually enjoy that part of your relationship. That's fantastic. I wish I could find someone like that. Honestly, I mean, that would be a home run, grand slam home run, right? But yeah, it's difficult to have someone that perfect and that in tune with you to be able to share that type of moment. Yeah, that's very difficult to find. So
Okay, so guys, we're going to wrap it up. Final thoughts on really the original question, which was why people remain in toxic relationships. And Dominic
for
will
the
go back.
sex.
Okay, well, we'll come to you soon, but we'll start with Dominic.
Yeah, to me, is if you're in one of those relationships, life is too short. Don't look at anything. Get out.
But clearly they can't. If they remain, they can't. And why
Well,
is that?
find
No,
a
they
way.
won't. Not they can't.
Fun,
They won't.
that's it. Everybody can.
Yeah.
No, I think you're overestimating people.
I understand, but don't look at the financial. Don't look at whatever. Just get out. Life is too short.
Yeah, okay. Aki?
I think psychological stress should not be underestimated, and it's a huge factor in why people lock themselves into dead ends, including relationships.
So expand on that, because to me, they are choosing to remain
They don't have
in a situation that is actually creating or causing additional stress in their
right.
lives.
So I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but a low self-esteem. They really believe at some point that they deserve
There's a
this misery,
weakness.
that this is who they are. They deserve this misery.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a huge factor.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
My 2 cents on this is it's difficult to find a perfect match for anyone. And you have to have a lot of give and take in a relationship. And I would say that before you have any kids and before you put other humans on this planet, that you should really make it a strong effort to get to know your partner and see that it's a good partnership and there's a good development and ability to have this happen. You need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to be intelligent baseline to be able to figure this stuff out, and it's difficult when you're young. So I like the fact that kids and people are getting married later in life. I like the fact that people are having children later in life. I think it makes for a better potential for society, for people to stay together, to have two-parent families as opposed to single-parent families. But if you're in a toxic relationship, I'm with Dominic on this, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. It ain't good for you. It ain't good for your kids. It ain't good for the future.
So I think we can all agree with that. But the fact is that individuals remain in toxic relationships. And I think that, as objectively as you can, and if not, listen to people around you who may be telling you you're in a relationship where you're being continuously disrespected, where you're being abused emotionally, psychologically, or physically, and you can't get yourself out of that situation for whatever reason. Seek professional help.
Yep.
Seek professional help, because that is not going to end well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Very good.
Guys, good conversation. Enjoyed
guys.
it. I hope our viewers and listeners did as well.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to doing it again next week.
Thank you.
Great job.
Take care.
Bye, guys.